Yo.
Go ahead.
I'm not. You just hit the button. You're ready to rock and roll. You want to watch basketball tonight. So, welcome everybody, right? We welcome with your silky smooth voice to another episode of Lucas, Tigers and Browns. Oh my. I put the chunk shirt on today. Look. I did whatnot in a suit today.
Cage opened his pool. Opened his pool today. It's a very happy day.
Pool's open.
For you, it feels that's the turn of summer. You're ready for summertime.
Hell yeah. And it's cool. It's like, you know how people, they go to like Five Below and they buy a little fountain for their desk? You know, it's like water flowing, and it's like, you know, people do, you know, like little like water, you know, they have a little fountain, you know, like people buy them at like Spencer's or whatever. I go in my backyard and the water is just, it's like I have my fountain. It's cool. I hear it's like a babbling brook. It's calming.
How does water in your pool move?
So the way it works is you have a filter and a pump. The pump brings the water in through the filter. It filters the water to clean it, sort of kind of like a fish tank, a big fish tank. It's got otherwise it gets algae. No. So there's a drain in the bottom of the pool, and then there's skimmers on the top. The skimmers, they pull water in it and take like anything that's floating on the top, leaves, bugs, whatever else that might go in the pool. That catches that. The rest of the stuff pulls from the main drain. It goes through a filter minus sand, and then it returns the water back to the pool in two returns that shoot water out like jets, like jacuzzi jets. That's how pool filtration systems work. So right now it's running.
Picturing something like this.
No, that would be pretty amazing with like a waterfall in the pool and that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool. Mine does not have that. It's just the, you know, like every other pool, it's the little like a nozzle that, you know, shoots the water out. But I hear it and it's moving. The water's churning. It sounds cool. Plus, there are people out there who open their pool and spend weeks getting it ready for it to be utilized, right? You know, my pool, the guys were finished at 1:00. By 3:20, my son was in it. You know, they took the cover off, you know, it up, you know, set the deal. I cleaned it. I vacuumed it. You know, I was out there with a stove, sunburn on my neck here. You know,
you did have you didn't answer me on Whatnot. By the way, Whatnot was super fun, guys. If you're not on Whatnot, we just hit 1,000 followers. 1,000 followers.
Sweet.
Yeah,
and we gained some today. Some people clearly are 12 years old, and they think that I'm hilarious, which is great. I appeal to all age groups. You know, I'm like Mad Libs. I'm fun for everybody from like 9 to 99. You know, it's all good. Let's rock and roll.
He's feeling himself. So, guys, there's a lot of misinformation in the hobby.
Oh, we went from the pool. Andrew just dove in. He dove right into the deep end. I can't imagine where he's going. He's going deep.
Who you follow, please. So I want to give a little credit. I think Slabstocks does a really good job with their posts. That's a great account to follow for hobby news. It's a great account. And the reason I'm talking about that is because you guys have probably seen the 50 cards returned from PSA, all deemed trimmed. Now, I want to separate something. I want to separate like PSA, the secondary market of cards, versus PSA, a company that's supposed to grade cards. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And just talk about the operation of that company. So,
okay.
Last July, almost a year ago.
Now, hold on a second. Andrew is going to give his opinion. He has not ever been inside of the PSA factory. He does not know how it works in any of PSA's locations. He is not speaking with any actual knowledge at all about the inner workings or the operations of PSA. If he starts to speak about how graders are being allocated, he has no actual knowledge of that whatsoever. This is all opinion. I just want to make sure that legal,
do your own research.
Is right. Do your own research. Exactly.
No,
you have that. The caveat there.
So
basically, he's speaking out of his ass right now. But go ahead. Let's hear what you got to say.
So according to a company statement, Turner will oversee continued investment in the company focused on expanding Collector's Universe capacity and capabilities while upholding the integrity, transparency, and consistency and accuracy that is cemented as the industry gold standard. Okay?
Okay. So that was the announcement when Nat Turner took over as the CEO?
Yes, and I wanted to prepare this, guys, because for a few reasons. I don't, you guys know me, I don't really like to bash. and I don't want to bash people because I do think that we all try to do things in the best interest of our families and take care of our families and all that. I do believe people are inherently good. But since that time, since that day, we still have a backlog.
When was that, by the way?
We have a scandal with Mark's cards.
Wait, how long ago? How long ago was that?
We had this company grading trimmed cards by Kong.
Wait, trimmed cards by Kong. Okay.
PSA graded trimmed cards, the contenders cards.
Okay.
They just recently sent thousands of cards to the wrong person. And those cards are now on eBay sold.
Okay.
They have not fixed the backlog. Grading is now $50 a card. Mm-hmm. They've hired graders basically off the street, train them.
Wait. I'll let you go. I'm gonna have to start taking notes because I would love to comment on each one of these individually, but I don't want to mess up your flow. So go ahead.
Sure. They've hired graders. They've had to train them, right? Got them into action. Forget my word. People who pre-grade or pre-review cards that have had 80% gem rates are now 40%, 50%. And not because they're grading harder, they're just grading inconsistently. And here's my theory as to why. PSA knew that with their entire backlog, the way that the space was going, where PSA 10s were flying through the roof, that was going to correct. People are going to leave the hobby. And they couldn't flood the market with all these PSA 10s. So instead, what they did was they had this backlog. They shut down. They said we're going to work on our backlog. And these gem rates have gone from 80% to 40%. And my question is, how much longer are we going to put up with that? The fact that under this new tutelage, basically, in my opinion, my humble opinion, and I don't love speaking up on this, I'm a little bit agitated with it, the customer is getting shafted. They're not getting any benefit from this gold standard of grading. Now they have to get, not that they know the grading standards, they don't know what they're getting back. If your cards get graded, they're going to get graded inconsistently. You're paying $50 a card. And now you're getting bullshit like this where you're still getting charged for grading, but it was trimmed. It was min-sized. It was altered. They're cashing. They're buying Golden. They're buying Card Ladder. They're positioning as a behemoth in the industry where they control what something costs, comps, Card Ladder, and they control the distribution, the output, Golden. But the customer, I don't know, man. I don't feel like the new PSA has given the customer all that much value in return for raising prices 3x. That's how I feel a little bit today, Cage.
I don't know how many cards the backlog was, right? But I guess we can go piece by piece on this. Because I think, it's easy to kind of be like almost a hater. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to be in the comments and say Backyard Breaks doesn't do a good job, right? When you see a couple of, high level, title issues, right? You see card porn kind of going after them. You see that Trevor Lawrence thing. Now there's a video of, the bottom card in the deck kind of thing. What gets lost is, the 99% of the time that stuff is being done right because of headlines. So let's go through each one of your headlines, and let's also make sure that everybody is aware, not a hit piece at all. And we are sponsored by SGC. We'll throw that out there. We got to say it, right? I mean, if somebody from ESPN comes on the air and takes a shot at, some other sports network, they should say that they work for ESPN. It's kind of clear. Just want to make sure everybody knows we do have an SGC, sponsorship. Let's throw that out there. So on PSA, do you want them to ship out more than 200,000 cards a week? to be returning them to people? Do you think that's not enough? Because that's, as of their announcement 2 weeks ago, they are turning around 200,000 cards per week to give back to people. Do you not want them to do that?
I'm not a box score guy. I'm a fulfill your promises type of guy. Get people their cards back.
Right. So, but the backlog was there. It was several million cards, and the backlog under Nat, because that was the start of the conversation, was he hasn't done anything or he's done a crappy job with the gold standard. They're down to 3.6 million card backlog, which is a lot, but I'm sure it was significantly more than that. And they're shipping 200,000 cards back every week. They're still allocating 80% of the resources.
The reason
to the
they
backlog.
can't ship out more is not that they don't have the capacity to grade more. The reason they can't ship out more is because there's probably less people in the hobby now than there were 2 years ago, but there's infinitely more PSA 10s. So supply and demand, the thing about companies like a grading company, not only are they a grading company, they're a secondary market company. And they know if they flood the market with slabs, it devalues the entire product that they put out there.
But what does that have to do with them sending cards back to people?
What do you mean?
I mean,
3 million.
I'm gonna go.
If 3 million cards, Cage. If 3 million cards hit the market at once, which they have the capacity to do, or even let's say 1 million every month, it would flood the market. It would kill their own brand.
So I venture to say that if they have 3.6 million cards, they do not have the capacity to just turn that around. They're doing 200,000 per week. That's 18 weeks. They're saying that they're slotted to be done with the backlog by early fall. I guess I understand what you're saying. They could probably double that if they really just, or maybe got, 100,000 more, whatever it is. I mean, what's amazing about it is we're very quick to jump on PSA. You have your gem mint records, right? Look at how many. But look at how many.
Is not quick at all, man.
Of course it is. Look at how many cards they turn around compared to what they are a juggernaut compared to the combined grading of everybody else. You could add up all other 117
but
grading
that's
companies.
Not how you judge a company. You judge a company by
promises
it makes.
So what promise? What promise did they make? Let's be specific. What promise did they make to people that they did not keep?
So in good faith, they did not keep the promise that the cards that they received December 2020, January 2020, that they would be graded in a timely manner. That's number one of a whole list of other things that I don't think.
So let's stick with the backlog, right? Because the backlog was one of your several issues. The promise, which first of all, they never made a promise. Obviously, They said they'll get them back in reasonable time. I noticed you didn't come on here and talk about Panini and redemptions, and today it's PSA, which is fine. We'll focus on PSA. What I would tell you is that at the time they made that, I'm not going to call it a promise, but at the time they said they would be getting cards back to people within a reasonable amount of time. They didn't cause the backlog. Right, the hobby grew. The hobby grew in numbers that we all should be thankful for. We all now have different, positive things going on because of it. And I think sometimes you have to cut some slack to a company and realize that maybe this is one negative that came with a ton of positive. The reason for the backlog of 3.6 million cards presently, which was a lot more, is because the hobby exploded in a way that nobody could have ever been prepared for. And you know what comes with that explosion? New content, you, me, sports card nonsense, the card talk guys. You know what else comes with it? Price discovery, huge prices, huge gains for people who were in the hobby, who were there early enough to grade with PSA and have their cards in the backlog. Because here's the thing, right? We'll talk about the operation of the company in a second. I think people need to take a more holistic view of everything. The reason why the company is not able to turn these cards around is because never in a million years would they have thought that they'd be getting this many cards in all at once. They were not prepared for it. And that's fine. We can give them shit for not having the foresight on it. But anybody who has cards in a backlog, they're every one of them, better off than they were when they submitted those cards in 2020. And here's why.
No way!
They are. Every single one of them.
Here's fucked.
How?
No.
Every one of those people.
Because they submitted Tyler Hero Prisms at $100.
Yeah, but do you think? Yeah, but do you think every one of those people that's all the cards that they owned? We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who had been submitting for quite some time and were buying those Tyler Heroes for $5 and probably sold them for hundreds of dollars. And we're talking about people who have probably made money in the hobby, turning those base cards, the 2012 Prisms, the base Tops cards, the rookies, you name it, and turning them into profit. Not to mention, all of the businesses, all of the great expansion that's happened in the hobby. Yes, you have to take the good with the bad. The bad here is that PSA obviously did not know that this was going to grow the way it is. But you can't blame Nat for that. Nat's come in and tried to clear the backlog up.
What Nat has implemented is these untrained graders.
Okay, so that's next. So graders off the street. That was number 2. How do you know there are graders off the street? Where are you getting that from? How do you know they're hiring graders off the street? Because I actually see postings for job graders on LinkedIn.
Huh?
I see postings when I'm on LinkedIn. I see postings for Collectors Universe for their job graders, and there's a legit job description with qualifications and the whole 9 yards. I've seen it on LinkedIn and on job boards.
I would call that off the street because what I mean is when you scale so quickly, there's not enough supply of good graders, experienced graders.
What do you consider so experienced grader?
You have to have experience to grade cards.
Right. So you have some knowledge that when they hire somebody, in the first week after they hire them, they put them out on the grading floor and said, "Go get that Mantle 52 Tops." Go ahead.
What I'm judging is I'm looking at the results of a tenure and I'm making assumptions about the behavior.
The results of a what? Of a
tenure, 9 months, a year of
so 9 months. And so your anecdotal evidence that gem rates have come down.
All assumptions of my part based on the results. Here we are. What is it? May 24th of 2022. Based on what I've seen over the last year and a half, I'm making conclusions. Of course, they're not going to be accurate because I don't get to see what's going on inside.
So, I mean, I would imagine, and look, we'll probably get this information pretty easily. I would imagine that they are allocating their staff. They're probably training their staff. They're probably bringing in people who have some experience, people who don't. I'm sure that they're probably allocating, different levels of cards. I don't know the answer, but
and here's what's happening. They're still giving out 10s, but your gem rate has fallen from 80% to 40%. And now what I'm noticing is people are getting dinged for, there used to be a pinhole in the Prism cards or a fingernail. That might have got you an 8 or a 9 before if the card was perfect. Now that gets you a 5. So here you're waiting on a card for a year and a half that you're paying money for. If it does well, you get upcharged, so you have to pay them again. But if it does poorly, more than likely your card is not as valuable as it was when you submitted it.
True, but
you're still paying grading fee.
But the glass half full in that story is perhaps the people who realize that the 6s and 7s used to be 9s and 10s are the ones who were getting 9s and 10s that they probably shouldn't have gotten. And that the card with the pinhole that they got a 9 or a 10 on that they were able to sell at the peak before the backlog started, or they will sell during this time while they were waiting for the other cards to come back, they're probably all ahead. And maybe they, instead of looking at it and saying, wow, I should have gotten 2 10s for this busted up card, you should be happy that you got a 10 on a card that was really a 7. And the second time around, they didn't give you the 10. Like, isn't that just as feasible? That maybe they were being too lenient with the 10s to begin with?
Lenient previously, so they're overcorrecting now.
I wouldn't say overcorrecting, correcting.
Okay.
It's just as feasible, right? I mean, it's just we can all say, look, there's a card with a pinhole in it. Is not a gem mint card, but we all know that 10s were given to cards with pinholes and print lines and you name it before.
So here now, I'm still the customer. So I sent in cards a year and a half ago. I've waited this long to get them back. More than likely, they're pennies on the dollar.
You had an expectation based on prior delivery, yes. So, like, you went to the store, you bought a smoothie, and a year and a half later, you went in and expected the same smoothie, but you didn't get the same smoothie because the same smoothie maker wasn't there. Maybe the smoothie maker is not as experienced.
Well, first off, it took me an hour and a half to get a smoothie that it used to take me 5 minutes to get.
Okay,
and the smoothie tastes like dick shit. But now, if I want another smoothie, I still get below standard return times, but I have to pay 3 or 4x for that.
You don't have to.
Sure.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
You're right.
You don't have to pay $50 at all.
You do not have to.
Yeah.
I guess the point of this is using our platform, our 1,000 daily listeners, our growth,
Yep.
our platform, our community is to say, hey, maybe you don't have to. Because we keep feeding the Goliath that shits in our mouth.
Well, I mean, only the people who are grading cards at $50 per clip are still feeding them.
And now we get to guys that are.
But I mean,
and
listen,
they're sending
to be fair,
in Wander Franco cards. And apparently, because PSA 3 weeks ago missed Kong's cards trimmed, now everyone's cards are trimmed.
Okay, so let's get to the trim. Let's get to the trim for a second. We'll do the trim in a second because we've now talked about the graders of the street. We've talked about the backlog, right? So let's get to the we got the graders of the street. We got the backlog. We'll get the trimming now. But before we do that, let's be honest. Maybe they're doing this so that they can get the backlog done. Like maybe you can't have your cake and eat it too. Maybe they're at $50 now because they don't want you to send it in for $50 because they still want to be able to allocate resources to get the backlog done by early fall. And let's be honest, we had Peter on, the CEO of SGC, and he came on and explained how they raised the price, right? They raised the price and they did it on purpose because they did not want people submitting at that price.
Is a year and a half really an acceptable time frame to catch up on a backlog?
Acceptable. I can't answer what's acceptable. Obviously, I have cards sitting there that I would much rather have in my hand, right?
It feels very unacceptable.
But I mean, listen, the point is, I think they're trying to figure out a way to fix that so that there's no more year and a half wait, and they'll have to figure out the happy medium again for price and amount of time. And maybe people like me who were sending in Rui Hachimura, Hoops Pulsar, unnumbered base cards out of a set from Target or whatever it was, the card is worth $1. Maybe it shouldn't have been graded, and maybe I shouldn't have sent in 50 of them. Who the hell knows?
Can I ask a question? And
yeah, of course. And we can get to the trim.
But this is where my mind goes from a business perspective. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You said maybe they're trying to catch up on the backlog.
Yeah.
The CEO of the company lives in New York City.
Correct.
The company is headquartered in Newport Beach, California.
Okay. So
you just took over a company. Do you really believe that, from your experience, that a company can be led with a new CEO, all the change that's happening from that distance? Or wait, let me rephrase. Is it understandable that I have doubts now, given a year later, that the current strategy of where he's leading from isn't really working?
Do you know how often he travels? Like, do you know his travel schedule? Do you know how often he's there?
All acceptable. But that's another question that I have.
Somebody like you, who's a millennial, who is the CEO of a podcast and can work just as well from an airport in Minnesota, hotel in Minnesota, airport in Orlando, various places hiding from the Federalis, Philadelphia, wherever it is. The output seems to still be top notch. Let's get to the trimming. I have no answer for the trimming other than to say, yes, from an operations perspective, companies do tend to overreact when something like this happens. They tend to swing the pendulum in the opposite direction. When it's a public thing, let's give Dave's Cards 32, an operations guy, some credit. We were talking about this in one of our groups as well earlier today. When PSA is called out on, not catching trimming, then cards that might not be trimmed but have a potential to be trimmed are going to be called out as trimmed because you swing the pendulum the other way. When somebody, when somebody says a player is not a good defensive player, but they're all about their offense, when they hear it enough, maybe they start working on their defense and their offense suffers a little bit because of it. It's just, it's one of those things that happens, and you want to say it's because they took graders in off the street. You want to say because, people don't know what they're doing or because they're not really grading cards. I have no answer for you on that other than to say, I think it's just typical operations and the pendulum will swing back to the middle shortly. Somebody got
backlog hasn't been fixed. Inconsistent grading. Scandals.
So you said the Mark's card scandal. How should they have handled that differently? What would you have liked PSA?
And then on top of all that, they use this easy way of, hey, your cards are trimmed here, take them all back, and you make $2,500 in seconds off the guy.
What if they're trimmed?
Find it very difficult to believe.
That one order
And
has 50 trimmed cards. I would find it more difficult to believe that an order of 50 cards had 10 Wander Franco base cards trimmed and everything else not trimmed. I'd find that a little weirder. But if you're gonna go, we might as well. If you're gonna go with a smile. You know, I mean, I'm just listen, man.
Maybe I'm blowing in the wind. Luca Nation, I apologize. This is a different vibe of an episode.
I didn't prepare for this. I know you prepared, right? But I didn't prepare for this. I'm just trying to play. It's not devil's advocate. I mean, I guess it sort of is. But I'm just trying to play. Look, if PSA was here, you get the right to kind of like face your accuser. If they were here, what would they be saying? And I think, I think if they were honest, they would come in and say, "We'd love to have everybody's cards right back, right now." You know, like we didn't know there was going to be a year and a half backlog, and we're doing everything we can.
I think if they were honest, they would say our goal is to monetize the fuck out of this, become a monopoly in this space.
I don't think that's true.
A small percentage of the customers.
I mean, honestly, I don't think it's true. If their goal was to monetize the hell out of it, like you're saying, I mean, they have to know that people are sitting with thousands upon thousands of cards, and they could just open the floodgates. They could drop that rate down to $20 or $25 right now, and they would have another 3.6 million cards come in the first month. And they wouldn't care when they came back, and that would just monetize the hell out of it. If that's really what they were trying to do, if they were looking to just get as much money in the door as they can, I think they could just open the floodgates right now. I know I have cards that I would send to them if they lowered their rates down to value levels again.
So we're 26 minutes in, Luca Nation. The people that know me, they know that I have a strong belief or strong opinions, but I'm willing to admit when I have blind spots. So if you guys disagree or agree, let us know in the comments. Whichever direction, it's probably some nuance between where Cage and I sit. But I'm curious because for me, you know how I feel about companies taking advantage of customers. And that's what I think.
What I'm going to say is I'm going to give you kudos on this because it's 700 episodes. How many episodes have we done? I lose count.
688 or 87.
So we're approaching 700 episodes. And you, sir, have come a very long way. Twofold. Number one, you allowed me to kind of do my stupid, counterpoint thing without getting really angry, which is good. But two, more importantly, you did this in a professional way. Wow. You did. You did this. You did this. You did not there was nothing you said that I would say, wow, he went a little too far there. It's opinion, right? And I know where it comes from. And Luca Nation, let's give this guy some credit. We get messages all the time. Right. And recently the messages are, I sent cards in 16 months ago. Like now everything's going to come back. Even if it's a 10, it's worth less than when I sent it. And it's probably going to be an 8. Did you see all these cards? Like, are they going to send my stuff back trimmed? Every card I sent is from a pack, or what am I supposed to do with 5s and 6s? Right. And are they doing this on purpose? And Andrew's not looking to pick a fight with anybody. He legit is hearing this over and over again from people and feeling people's pain. And the flip side to that is I'm not trying to poo-poo the point Andrew's trying to make or any of the comments we got. I wanted to do kind of like a, this is almost Amber Heard and Johnny Depp over here. You know what I mean? Like we almost did the thing. And yeah, exactly. Like, we
Fuck, I just made myself Amber Heard. Oh,
yeah, there you are. You're Amber Heard. I tried to do it but I think it's a useful conversation. Obviously, people are talking about it. People are thinking about it. But I think that, the thing about it is loosely, it falls into the whole let's be hobby optimists versus hobby pessimists. And I know it sucks, right? That everybody's waiting for cards. I'm waiting for cards. But eventually, if you believe them, early fall, which I guess means what? Last week of September, October.
We have no choice but to believe them because we're handcuffed.
Yeah, but you'll know, right?
Thousands of dollars of their property. And we don't want, if we shit on their company, we're shitting on our own investments.
But by September, October, November, all of the backlog will be done. And people will be able to, as you say, kind of vote with their money. You know what I mean? Your dollar will speak. Or are you going to give the cards back to them or not?
It feels like, and I've never been in domestic abuse, so maybe it's wrong, but like it feels like the abuser keeps hitting you and hitting you, promising that he or she's going to stop hitting you. in 3 months. The 3 months never come.
I mean, listen, again, I don't want to completely, dismiss it because I know there's a lot of people going through this stuff and a lot of people are waiting on a lot of cards from PSA. I know we are, and complete through dates be darned,
No, the dude said, and maybe they're trimmed. I'm going to look like an ass. I'm willing to do that, or I'll probably do it anyway. What's 1% of 100 million? Oh,
dude, that was hilarious. Lots of math. I was told there would be no math. No, but I mean, listen, look, maybe PSA takes those cards back. Maybe they review them again. Who knows? We don't know. That's the first chapter of that story. Or maybe they were reviewed by two people. Maybe those cards, that order was reviewed by one of their senior graders, and they looked it over and they said, these are clearly tripped. Who knows? You never know what the story is.
It's a pebble in a lake, and this is a quick $2,500. We don't have to encapsulate. We don't have to go through any of the process. Boom, send back.
Do you think that the $2,500 is worth this? Absolutely not. All right, if you're talking about how they're a behemoth and they're this monopoly and that they're trying to monetize everything, do you really think that they would do that for $2,500?
No, I think it's a byproduct of chaos in their grading organization. I think it's a lack of I think it's chaos and disorganization. Where
listen, I can't say you're
some
wrong.
Get 10, some are trimming, some are min. You don't even know. Like
people that the point of what we're doing is I can't say you're wrong. But I also can't say you're right. You know what I mean? Like everything we've talked about could also have a very good explanation. Everything. So,
All right, what else we got? We got awesome guests coming up this week. Really, really good guests.
You want to crap on anybody else?
We're gonna talk a little bit about the merger, we'll call it, of Bleecker and Coffee Breakers. He'll probably put it in better terms, and we should have got him on way sooner. I've just been traveling a lot. Then we have SCP Auctions. David Kohler's coming on. Insane Kobe collection. That's this Friday. What's top of mind for you, big dog?
That's Friday? When are we having Big Man Buster on?
Next Friday.
All right. I'm excited. He's
sending out care packages. He wanted you to open it live on the air.
That would be great. Listen, Buster, if you're listening to this, I got 5 utility mics. You only send me 1 package. People with 1 utility mics get 1 package. I should get 5 packages. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just the big guy's got to eat. Send me 5. I'm just playing. So what do I want to talk about?
I feel like the big guys, and this goes along the lines of someone that you're friends with. The big guys, they eat too much and they never break off a little bit. They
don't. But you know what? Sometimes this little guy's got to learn that people will not buy the cow if he keeps giving the milk for free.
Yeah, but you have a huge heart.
Yeah.
Literally, for all those McDonald's sandwiches, you have a huge heart.
It's huge. It's enlarged. That's what they call it. Enlarged. It's an enlarged heart. Yeah, man. I mean, listen. It is what it is.
It had a spin-off, a new division of Collectors Universe Your Heart that just focused on grading fries and Big Macs.
Nice. Or breakfast sandwiches. Definitely breakfast sandwiches. So what's on my brain? I don't know, man. Basketball playoffs. Luka. The next time we do an episode, Luka's Tigers and Bronze. It might not be a good week for Luka's Tigers and Bronze. It might be Luka out of the playoffs. Tiger. Quitting during an event, and Bron's been out of Bron's been out of the playoffs for a long time. That was my idea. I mean, people seem to think it's
Chicago Bulls. Pay him his commission.
Pay me. Somebody should pay me a commission. I should get a commission from somebody. I'm right a lot. But yeah, I mean, the Warriors, fun to watch the Warriors and see what they're going to do. I got to tell you, I don't know what it is, that irrational hatred, right? Like you draft somebody in fantasy and you hate them when they screw your team over, they get injured, you hate them for the rest of your life. Maybe it's just because I live in New York. I just don't want the Celtics to win. I'll just come out and say it. I have a bias against the Celtics. I don't know what it is. I mean, they never did anything wrong to me. I've talked about Marcus Smart being, a better player than people give him credit for, way before anybody ever mentioned Marcus Smart. I think Jaylen Brown is awesome. Maybe I just don't think Tatum is a superstar. Maybe that's part of it, and there's so much Tatum love. Maybe it's because the people who live in the New England area have just had way too much hobby luck just based on their location. They had the Brady, and now they're going to get Tatum.
Well, it's funny. Like, it's actually, think about this. When Brady was in New England, he was not very well liked. Not even just you, just across the country.
Except for people in New England.
Now he went to Tampa Bay. How much more beloved is he? So I don't think you're the only one that has I think it is Boston versus the world, dude. Their fans are insane. It's one of the coolest venues I've ever seen. And I think
I also want to root for the Heat so that you can go see a finals game. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but those fans are not the same as South Beach. But the Celtics fans, man, that's a different crowd. And that's not just one sport. You go Bruins, you go Patriots, that whole general area. It's not just one state. It's a few states. I think they show out, man. And I think in a lot of ways, you're not the only one that doesn't like them. And I think that rivalry is kind of cool.
I mean, listen, Tatum winning would probably be decent for the hobby. I have a feeling, though, that most people who are in Tatum to make money on Tatum, not because they think Tatum is actually a really good investment. I think that not that they're fans of Tatum. I think people just bought Tatum hoping that he'd win a championship, and then they're going to try to flip Tatum. I don't really believe in an organic Tatum fandom.
How can you? It's the same thing like not having an organic Brady fandom.
He's not really likable.
He's very likable. He has a son that everyone loves.
Yeah, Tatum has a son that everyone loves. Deuce. What's his name? Deuce Tatum.
It might just be Jason Tatum II, and they call him Deuce too.
And it could be.
You know what's something I don't get about?
It's not pronounced D's.
No, these nuts. No. I called Cage yesterday. I'm like, yo, look at this transformation, and I'm like, I send them a picture of Justin Herbert rookie year, and then now, and to me, I like looking for that stuff because one, it's just. More than anything,
you like looking at Justin Herbert?
I think where your focus goes, your attention flows, right? So This is why people say they're going to the club before the game or they're at a strip club before the game. Why is that such a big deal? It's not because actually being there is bad for your health. It's you're focused on the wrong thing. So number one, I love to see a player in the off season stay in the weight room, train, really transform what they're about. And if you look at his physique, the dude is now one of the fittest dudes it looked like on the entire Chargers team. And he came in just this scrawny, lanky dude just 1 year ago. You could go to his Instagram page. I think that's a big deal. Cage.
It's going to mess up his rotation, mess up his throwing mechanics, and it's probably going to slow him down also on his scrambles. It'll probably help him, take some hits. It's good that they're in shape. Mac Jones is in immaculate shape right now, too, if you look at most of these. I'm being dead serious. No, I'm being dead serious.
No, you're fine. You're messing with it.
Google Mac Jones physical transformation. Every young quarterback.
It's impossible to know when you're joking. So
I'm not joking.
Cage and his wife were razzing me literally for an hour last night. And they don't understand that their tone of sincerity and their tone of sarcasm is identical.
Yes. Correct. We just told you that you should stop wearing diapers now that you're in your 30s. That's sarcastic and serious at the same time. So, yes, it is identical. So, no, Mac Jones, I read an article about him today and saw pictures of him today. It must have been the offseason for, quarterbacks getting in shape. But the funny thing is that when you actually read the articles, you watch the games, bro, instead of just looking at naked pictures of Justin Herbert like you do in your spare time.
You're not going to want to know what I say next because it's probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever done.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So I'm watching the Ricky Gervais special, the new one. Uh-huh. One of his jokes is about how fat people get airlifted out of a house.
Oh, yes.
So I Googled fat people getting airlifted in the house.
And I found Walter Houston.
I sometimes I don't know what's wrong with it, but it was. And once you're on the page, you can't stop.
So you just spent an hour watching fat people be airlifted out of their houses? Jesus Christ. How stoned were you? I can see him now. Look at this fat guy. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it now. It's like the scary movie episode. Look at this guy. Oh wow, they had to use 2 cranes for this guy. Yeah. Anyway, so the Mac Jones thing, what they said at the end of the story, at the end of the article, was he's quoted saying, "Yes, I got in shape. Yes, this is going to be helpful for me because as a rookie, I didn't realize the grueling, nature of this. But I've trimmed down. I've gotten in shape. I've cut down my body fat, but." between now and the season starting, I have to bulk back up. I have to get bigger because you lose weight during the course of the season. You can't keep it on. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. So it's amazing to see that, right?
Actually true.
So, listen, I'd much rather see Herbert come in looking healthy than that you look like Zion whenever Panini takes his picture. That's never a good thing, you know? They use the fat lenses, the fat filter Panini does on Zion's cards.
The camera adds 10 pounds. For him, it adds like 30.
But I still, listen, guys, I'm going to say right now, before anybody cares about football, be very careful with Justin Herbert. I know you love him. I know you
100K for his national treasures.
It's already a 6-figure card for his national treasures. Already 6 figures. What's the upside?
Cage seems to think that he has to have Luka type of year for it to even move to 150.
Listen, he was a playoff quarterback. Then he didn't make the playoffs. People expect him to be the MVP and go deep in the playoffs. He has to do what Joe Burrow did for him to overtake Burrow's role. Burrow, people I think are expecting a little bit of a step back. But guys, it is a mathematics game. It's an odds game, right? Just look at the AFC. Right? Look at all the quarterbacks in the AFC, right? And they can't all win. They can't all win every game. They can't all be the guys who are gonna, be the $1 million card, right?
I can't help but compare all these guys in price and value to LeBron's exquisite. Like in that 100 to 1 million range, like because a lot of those cards are like national treasures of Burrow, Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is even higher.
But you know what the difference is? I mean, LeBron has a lot of autos. In 03, It's a very similar time to this. Look at it, Ultimate, SPX. Look at all the things that are out there. People post pictures. Look at this SP, Ultimate auto of him. I numbered out at 250, blah, blah, blah. Like the pop in PSA 10 is only this much. How could it, people are dumb. This thing should sell for so much more. But you got to understand, there are a million options for LeBron rookie autos. Fair. Not RPAs, but there's a lot of, there are a lot of RPAs too. Ones where he signs on the ball. There's all kinds of stuff. Bedeck had a ton of autos. So it is a very good comparison because these guys now, these quarterbacks, there's a ton of autos, ton of different sets that are options for people. And if you can't spend $100,000, you can get an RPA numbered even less for, a couple $100 if you buy Spectra. Or whatever the hell else you want to buy, So there's definitely a lot of stuff out there. But yeah, I think what you're trying to say is, look, the RPA, this last week of sales, there were 3 traditional Mahomes National Treasures RPAs out of 99 in various grades with various patches that sold for anywhere between $84,000 and $132,000. That's a dude who's already won a Super Bowl and an MVP, has been to the AFC Championship game every year he's been in the league, right? And his cards are selling for the same or less than Justin Herbert, who's done what? Look good naked to you? Come on now.
Have you followed the Leaf lawsuit at all?
Against CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah.
I read the pleadings.
Thoughts?
I mean, listen, Leaf is in a tough spot, right? Because on the one hand, it's very difficult for them to get, athletes because there's a lot of licensing deals, a lot of money being thrown around, and they know the writing's on the wall with, fanatics and that kind of stuff coming. But at the same time, in order to enforce your rights, it's difficult because now people know that if they sign a contract with them and, it doesn't go according to plan, they're going to get sued. You know what I mean? So it's a double-edged sword.
If they let them just walk away from it, that reputation would also spread.
Yeah, I mean it is a very difficult, it's a difficult space to navigate. I got to tell you, I don't envy anybody who has to do it. I think the grading's a difficult space to navigate. We should give, Peter and Nat, and I mean that's all I know. I would say
we don't know who the CEO of BGS is.
I would say Dr. James Beckett, but I know it's not.
It's more like a cardboard. It's right in line.
Hell, I'll give the DCI guys a little credit. Look at them, $10. There's your option.
Yeah, it is I would agree, it's a very difficult space, and it's a space that being a CEO, it's like you're between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, give these guys some credit because they have
grace. I'm not going to give them.
They have a couple of levers that they
grace
can
does not credit, Cage.
All right, and so you don't take credit. It's fine. I'm all about credit.
You can't give fake credit. I've learned that just leading people. Like you got
fake business.
fake news. But if someone does something well, you got to give them praise. And if someone does something poorly, you have to hold them accountable. You can't give someone credit for doing something poorly, then they're just going to repeat their actions.
Okay. I mean, nothing you said there was objectionable to me. I will say that. Meanwhile, I could end it with this if you like, but we got to talk a little bit of sports too. So, guys, you know this shirt. Everybody loves this shirt. Andrew says I should give this shirt away at National to a Tiger holder. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know what my sweaty.
You have a chunk card now,
but I do. This picture.
Let's create a card. Let's create a cardboard Hall of Fame.
So I walked past. I went for a walk right before this episode. I did an hour walk with my wife. Went for a walk. Got to get the steps in. I barbecued. I took the kids in the pool. I did all this stuff, right? And I'm going for a walk, and there's a guy working on his car. It's a Volkswagen. Now, way back 20 years ago, I had a Volkswagen.
Red Dragon, huh?
I had a Volkswagen, and it was annoying because it didn't take normal fluids. You couldn't just go buy antifreeze or windshield wiper fluid or anything from like any pet. You had to like order this special German antifreeze and stuff. So here's this guy with a bucket of it, and he's putting it in his car. I remember it. I was having like flashbacks, and I'm like, oh, Volkswagen, I remember that. You had to get that from you had to like order that, right? And he's like, hey, what a cool shirt. Is that your son? And I'm like, I wish. A chunk from Goonies is my son. That would be amazing. He's like, oh, that's where I knew it from. I was like, is that your son? That was great. I love it. Is that your son? I was like, son of a bitch. Oh, this is why I'm going for a walk. This is why I'm walking.
Your son. Oh my god.
Because I guess people do that, right? They get, they get shirts made with like their kids on them and stuff. Is that your son? I'm like, no.
Yo.
Yes.
You know what rich people do within this neighborhood?
I don't know, and I will never know. They race their cars, clearly.
They put son's name is heading to Wake Forest 2023 and like 6 signs on their lawn.
So you kick them over.
Nobody cares where your son or daughter is going to college.
Of course they do. I care.
No one cares.
He's a demon deacon. That's where Tim Duncan went.
No one cares where you're going. Like they put in like the for sale signs. It's like Jimmy Beanbags.
Where's the grace? Jimmy Beanbags
is going to Wake Forest 2023.
Where's the grace we spoke about previously? There's no grace in what you're doing now. Come on now. Notice if they go to if the kids got in a shitty school, they probably wouldn't put anything up there. Let them brag about their kids.
All these schools are shitty, man.
All except for that's an episode for another day.
All except for the Ivy League. What are we even talking about today?
We talked about PSA for a half an hour, and I got to tell you, well done. You did a very good job on it because you came in, wanting to make your point. I think you did. I think a lot of people will probably agree with you and not me. But sometimes in order to have a conversation about this stuff, we can't just be in an echo chamber. You have to be able to present, the other side of an equation and be fair to the folks who are there. I'm sure most people are going to take your side on this one, which is fine. I kind of knew that going in.
It'd be kind of cool for a show. If we ever have like a production studio, someone comes in, buys us out or puts money into it, have it in a courtroom.
Why are you telling people that?
Have it in a courtroom.
The courtroom with cage. Let's do it. Put a cage around it.
Yes.
Courtroom in a
cage.
That
would be epic.
That'd be pretty fun. All right, so sports, man.
Who would be the prosecutor? Who would be the defendant?
I don't know, man. You know what? That's a great thing for a comment. If we were going to build a show, obviously Andrew and I are going to have to be the other stuff, the lawyers on either side. But who would be the judge? Who is going to sit there? Or are we the judges and we get the guests to come in and argue their hobby cases to us? I don't know, man. I mean, who would you have guest star? Like who could be the bailiff? Right? Hootie? Would Hootie be?
Bailiff does.
They pretend they're a cop.
Oh, that's what that guy. And then they're like, I'm going to hold you in contempt, and they're like, take him out.
Yes, the bailiff is the one. Yeah, the bailiff gets the jury. Gets the.
I'm just going to be the stenographer.
Those people. They get paid pretty well. It's a pretty cool skill, though. It's difficult to learn.
All the carpal tunnel surgery.
There's definitely a little carpal tunnel. So sports, man, baseball. Yankees after winning 1 million games, losing. Lost 3 in a row. But Aaron
Right.
Judge doesn't stop hitting home runs. 17 home runs. The dude wants his money. I want my money. I want my money, Jimmy.
What's more powerful motivation than contract year?
Nothing. It's amazing, isn't it? You know, when you're playing for your money, all of a sudden you're the best player on earth.
And when you're well fed, well, you pull about Ben Simmons.
I mean, it's pretty nuts. Give me a prediction on Simmons. Simmons going to actually play for the Nets next year? Does he ever play again? Do they trade him? Do they blow the Nets up? What's going to happen with Simmons?
I don't see how he plays in a big city, man. I think he plays in like a Charlotte, somewhere where he's kind of out of the spotlight.
You don't think LeBron brings him in?
No, no, dude. Who would trust this guy? He's bailed on 2 teams. Like it's very difficult. Like, isn't it all trust when you're on a team together? Trust that you show up for the other guys. Like, we win together, we lose together, right? No one likes to lose, but it's fucking sports. You're not in war. Like, wait, not even thinking you're going to go into battle with us, or not knowing if you will or won't. I don't know how you could genuinely.
I love it. You know what I think? You know what I want to know? The folks who run and work out to us. Was that first half hour good for the workout? I'll get it. I bet it gets the blood flowing a little bit, a little back and forth, little argument there. You know, that's it's good stuff.
Believe it or not, that's actually how Cage and I talk. I think like people are like, we love like your rapport. I think it's because it's been that way from day one. Like, we're respectful of each other's opinions, but not scared to like take the other side. For example, I'm like, yo, wouldn't it be cool to have kind of like a VR experience of like a sports card museum? That led to a conversation.
This guy wants a table at National and decides he's going to think of that idea the last week of May. So that's how the conversation started, by the way. So already I started off basically saying, whatever you're going to ask for now, you can't have.
Well, because he started with, you're a moron. He didn't say this, but I could tell that was he's like, okay,
pretty much.
This kid's a moron. And I'm going to give him 46 reasons why he's a moron until he realizes that he's a moron.
Pretty much. I mean, good. I'm glad I was laying it on real thick.
Here's my thesis.
I'm excited about National.
A lot of evidence.
I'm excited about National. I mean, guys, who's going? Let us know who's going. We can start planning stuff now. I'm going to start buying cigars. I might have to bring hundreds of cigars down there. Smoke on the beach, smoke on the boardwalk, smoke wherever. Let's get some cigars with Cage. See what else we're going to do. That'll be fun. You know, sure we'll hook up some cool stuff with some of our partners, cool giveaways. It'll be a good time. I'm excited for it. So, on the spot to close this out, who wins the NBA championship this year?
Warriors.
And they beat
I think they beat the Heat, man.
In how many games?
6.
Listen, guys, you have to listen to him.
Don't take that to the bank.
He knows what he's talking about. Look at the predictions he made about hockey. I mean, the Avalanche look unstoppable. And Andrew called it. I mean, he called it from before the playoffs even started. So, beware of this guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's got a magic crystal 8-ball.
I know people want us to talk hockey more, but I just don't know.
Dude, that was the best thing ever. I don't know any of these players or these teams. Oh, I love it. But soccer.
Mbappe stayed, man. They offered him basically the moon.
Yeah.
Or the sun. Which one is it?
Both. I mean,
what's the deal with your guy Donaldson getting suspended for calling someone Jackie?
I mean, he was mouthing off for a while to this guy. He was kind of doing his thing. I would say he deserved the suspension. I mean, like between innings, they were going at it and stuff. It was just
talking trash.
Yeah.
But you don't suspend someone for talking trash.
I mean, I'm sure he said something more than what they're publishing.
Was it racial? Was it racial?
I wasn't there, but I'm sure he said something more than what's in the papers. I would hope he didn't say anything racial. One, you can't do that shit, and two, he still has to go back to his own clubhouse. You know what I mean? Like stuff doesn't fly. You can't do that. So,
but this is from 2019.
It is what it is. The sucky part is that the Yankees get punished for that. If it's something he did when he wasn't on the team, and they have to lose a game, that kind of shitty. Anyway, listen, let's see what else we got. That's it. I want to go watch Dallas against the Golden State Warriors. That'll be a lot of fun. I think the Warriors probably close it out. You may get a 50-point game out of Luka tonight.
I think so too. I think so too.
But it's been fun, man. It's been fun watching this stuff. And guys, keep up those messages. A lot of people loved hearing that I was buying cards. If you want to hear my thought process behind it, what else I might be buying, send me a message. I answer every message that comes in. I get a lot of them, but I answer every message that comes in.
Do those, we obviously buy cards, but it doesn't make a good show or good content to talk about what cards we buy. That's not super fucking exciting.
Right. But I mean, 100%. It was more of a, what I'm consolidating, what I'm selling, how I'm selling, where
Strategy.
I'm selling.
Gotcha.
And people are also thinking about selling themselves. I walk people through what buyer's premium is, what happens after the auction ends, how much you get, depending on what auction house. I mean, that's fun for me. That's like train ride conversations.
Wow. So this is real quick.
Shoot.
9:05. Okay, 5 minutes max.
Shoot.
First team All NBA: Giannis, Booker, Doncic, Jokic, Tatum. Second team: Curry, DeRozan, Durant, Joel Embiid, Morant. Third team: LeBron, Chris Paul, Pascal, Karl Anthony Towns, Trey.
Who are you gonna put LeBron ahead of?
It's recency bias because I would say Curry should be higher, but then it's and Booker should be lower.
LeBron should be higher. But who are you going to put him over at his position, right? Who's the NBA first teamer at forward?
Booker and Tatum first team is very interesting.
I mean, they had great years. It's difficult to do it, and what that shows me is it's almost kind of like a changing of the guard. You've moved your Chris Pauls, your Steph Currys, your LeBrons down, and you replaced them with the Lukas, the Tatums, the Bookers. I mean, Jokic was the MVP, obviously, and Giannis was pretty darn close. But where's Embiid? Was he second? Okay.
Behind Jokic.
That makes sense. I mean, 1-2 on the MVP, so I guess that makes sense. But LeBron had a fantastic individual year. I mean, he was the scoring title until the last week of the season. So, I mean, listen, those are all, you could argue those left, right, different. But, I mean, I think that's one of those things where the NBA is saying we don't need to give LeBron first team. We give it to Tatum. We'll give it to, Luka. We'll give it to these guys who haven't gotten it before, and we'll start to usher in the new generation. It's almost like making a market when you're a card grader.
Before we wrap, I don't have kids.
You don't. But you are one.
It's got to be the scariest thing to send your kids to school when there's a school shooting. So my prayers go out to every single person, whether they're emotionally affected by this or physically. I apologize. I don't apologize, but I'm sorry. It's pretty terrible. And I think we should always acknowledge that kind of stuff, even if we are a sports card show. Just prayers go out because that's really sad. It's
one of the worst things imaginable. Elementary school level children, and we cannot end an episode on that because if I were listening to this, I would be very upset with us. Come on, man! You get me for 55 minutes, and then you do the Debbie Downer on everybody. What are you doing?
We have to acknowledge it, dude.
If we do, we have to acknowledge it. You are correct. It's very sad. I mean, unimaginable stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll end with that.
Shut up. Love you, Luca Nation. It's sad. Prayers go out. Awesome episode. Thank you all for subscribing, for commenting. All that stuff means the world to us. We'll be back tomorrow with a really good guest. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month. And many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community.
as people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.